Hi, my name is Jody Melton, and this is Journal 3 assignment. I interviewed a mid 20-year-old female that has been a recovering substance abuse addict. This mid 20-year-old that I was able to sit down with, her first choice of drug was marijuana. She said that she was peer pressured by friends from ages 16 to 18 years old. Um, and the people that got her to start using were ultimately three guys from her church that were really just trying to get her to use in order to have sex with her. Um, and that was how she was introduced to marijuana. This particular girl did not really mix two different drugs. Occasionally, she said she did not do it very often, but occasionally she would drink alcohol with marijuana. And the reason why she would do that is just to numb out quickly, to be more relaxed even faster. It offered a way for her to escape the stress and overthinking and the emotional distress and discomfort that she was feeling. Um, and she did not do that very often, but when she did, um, it was a quicker high for her, um, and she was trying to escape something. The spiritual belief that assisted her in her recovery journey um, was really her relationship with the Lord. And she said over the last 3 years, last 2.5 years, that has drastically improved and grown. But her relationship with the Lord, she said, is by far the most influential reason and has helped her the most in her recovery journey. She reads scripture daily. That's a daily discipline, a daily practice for her, and also spending time in prayer. But she also has ways to remind herself that her identity is more important than her past choices, that her identity is found in Christ and Christ alone, not in things that she has done or decisions that she has made. And so those one things that she does is she has sticky notes around her house, in her room, but then also she has them at where she works. And that is kind of, she just puts them like anywhere she needs to and writes different verses or different quotes from books to encourage her along the way. And what led her to using was truly just being very curious about what it would feel like after she used. She said that she referred to them as her close friends were using, and she got to watch them. But now looking back, those were not some of her close friends, and nor does she even want to really have a relationship with them now. Um, and she recognizes now that the close friends then were not who she needs to be friends with now. Um, but there was some things that she was facing at home, um, working through some things with in a relationship that caused her to keep using. And so she kept using to numb out of those unhealthy environments that she was in. But over time, after using and using and using, her brain just became used to that's how she copes with it, the neuroplasticity of our brain. And so it became an incredibly bad habit. Um, but that's how she thought she could deal with things. And then how did this marijuana usage affect her relationships or her daily responsibilities? Um, she is actually an elementary education teacher. And when she got her job, she would find herself in the morning using. Um, Most mornings, she would go out during her lunch break and go use again. And then after school, sometimes if the kids would be in a specials class and she had a moment to walk out to her car or to do something, she would go and do that again. And so it affected all aspects of her daily responsibilities. She couldn't make it through the day without getting another hit. Her motivation was so low. She just became more isolated and more drawn away from people that truly cared about her. She just distanced herself more and more. Um, it became harder to get the tasks done that she needed to do. She found herself as being always tired. Um, and then she also was avoiding anything and everything that required effort or emotional energy. And so that's even why sometimes at lunch or during the day, she would try to leave her classroom and go out to her car and get another hit in because teaching can be exhausting and dealing with little kids and teaching them can be hard. And that was one way that she was trying to cope with teaching and dealing with kiddos that were emotionally taxing on her. And some of the triggers that she found were certain environments. Um, Even to this day, there's certain environments that she knows would trigger her, so she just does not go to them. Specific people are a trigger. Um, Loneliness and boredom are two really big triggers, which is why during the summer and breaks as a teacher, she has a plan and kind of has some ideas of what she's going to do so she does not hit that season of loneliness or boredom. But then also just being around the smell of weed is a very big trigger for her. So having to be aware of that and then change locations or avoid locations because of that. Some of the coping strategies that she uses, daily structure and a daily schedule, just having a schedule and having a plan and knowing what she's doing, not letting boredom or loneliness set in, spending time in prayer, making the effort to connect with friends. She's realized over the last year or so, she's connected with a small group at her church, and those relationships and connections with her friends are huge. And so oftentimes she has to make an effort to connect with them or to go do something and make a plan to go have something to do rather than just sitting around being bored. Another thing she started doing is replacing old habits with now life-giving routines, figuring out what things bring her joy, what things give her like a new sense of fresh air and energy, and replacing the old habits with that. In the last 6 months, she's recently joined a gym, and so consistently working out has been a good coping strategy for her. Um, Serving others, finding ways to serve people in and outside of her local church is incredibly life-giving to her. And she looks for ways to do that. She serves at the local church that she attends. And she loves going on Sunday mornings to spend time with those little preschoolers that she gets to teach week in and week out. She also said that consistent therapy, and that is a big deal for her. She meets still every other week with her counselor. Um, but along the way, she was every week. Now it's gone to every other week. And while she's not seeing the counselor right now for marijuana usage and working through that, the lack of usage has brought to light the reasons why she was using. And so now they are working through the deeper issues of what led her to using and developing coping strategies to not go back to using. A support group that she was a part of was one that was at her local church. It's called Regeneration. It's very similar to AA, but also different in the same aspect of incorporating um, daily homework that involves and looking at your relationship with the Lord and growing in that, which then can help those addictions and working through what is leading you there. This program, Regeneration, meets weekly. It has built-in accountability and prayer support from the people within the group, but then also the group leaders. Um, And then she also had a mentor in this group that she met with every other week as well. And this group of women were a group that understood where she was without judgment. Everybody in that group, she said, was struggling with something. It may not have been a substance abuse like hers, but everybody was struggling and working through their own struggles. And it was so encouraging to hear other stories like that. And one thing that I really appreciated through our conversation was how honest and transparent she was. She's only been sober and clean for about a year and a half. Um, and she said she's made, looking back to that time when she was using and thinking about how far that was, but then where she is now, she said it feels like it was a lifetime ago, but it's only been like a year and a half since she quit, completely stopped. Um, she even said that she would come into counseling high for a while because she just could not. She didn't want to go there emotionally, but she knew she wanted to do something. And so she recognized that there was something going on and she needed help. Um, but then the thing that she also said that was really, really impactful was how much her um, working through that 12-step regeneration program, how much that helped her, but then also the connections and the relationships that she's built through her small group. And those are people that she now considers some true friends. But she said the accountability and connection is so huge for her continuing on the recovery path that she's on. And my view of an addiction counselor has definitely grown. Um, I think I had a very narrow mind of a person that was trapped in addiction, but I'm actually meeting with another person that is in this 12-step program. I'm meeting with another one that is a recovering substance abuse and alcohol user as well. And realizing there is so much deeper going on that has caused them or that has led them to be using. And so while I had a very narrow view of an addict, it has since grown so much. I feel like this conversation with this mid 20-year-old aligns so much with our text in this course, and it really brought all of this chapter on substance abuse and addictive behaviors all to light. The other thing that she told me in all of this is that she is actually also has love addiction, and I so we talked a little bit about that and how that has played a role in this and her fear of abandonment. And there's so much more than just an addiction. There's so much more to a person than just an addiction. And so if a person that's struggling with addiction could get to the place of being vulnerable and being open to connection and being vulnerable, there's so much healing and growth that can happen. And then the hope that only can be offered from Jesus. And that's even better. Um, for a recovering addict. And so um, I really enjoyed this assignment. And so these are just some of the resources that I used in this assignment.